お前、人間の子供だろ。俺は人間に触れられると消えてしまう。
On one summer day, a little 6-year-old girl gets lost in the forest of the mountain god, which is also believed to be inhabited by the spirits. She could not find her way out of the forest, so she gets scared and starts to cry. Then suddenly a young boy calls her from the distant. Oddly, he is wearing a mask, and asks her why she is crying. Seeing him, the little girl feels relieved, and runs toward him, but the boy doesn't let her touch him, and asks her if she is a human child. He tells her that if a human touches him, he will disappear. The little girl is a bit puzzled, so she asks him if he is one of the spirits of the forest. She gets more curious about him, so she tries to catch him, and out of option, the boy hits her in the head with a thick branch. Then the little girl starts to believe him, because no human would hit a child like that. Then the boy explains to her that he will be obliterated if any human touches him, because it is a spell that the mountain god has placed upon him. The boy offers her to escort out of the forest, and hearing this, the little girl gets excited and tries to hug him, but gets hit by the branch again. Finally, the little girl gets that she should always keep a certain distance from him. The boy leads her out of the forest, and he is quite surprised that she is not even a little bit scared of him. Then the little girl asks him if he is always going to be here, so that she can meet him again. She tells him that her name is Hotaru, and asks his name, but the boy says nothing and keeps looking at her. Hotaru then promises that she will be back again here tomorrow with a thank you present, and starts running away from there. Suddenly, she hears him saying, "It's Jin." She quickly turns around, but he is already gone from there. While walking towards her home, Hotaru's uncle finds her in a midway, and he is very angry because she didn't obey him to not wander in this place alone. Hotaru then cries and hugs her uncle. On a way back home, Hotaru asks her uncle about the forest of the mountain god and the spirits that live inside it. He tells her that when he was little, he and his friends also wanted to meet a spirit, so they used to sneak into the forest but never met anyone. But on one summer night, one of his friends Iwa and her friends went into the forest and had fun at a festival that was held inside it. But there is no way the villagers would have held a festival inside a forest, so the crazy story started to spread that they might have snuck into a festival of the spirits. Then the uncle starts to laugh, remembering his childhood because of how stupid they were back then. That whole late night, Hotaru keeps thinking about Jin, and as promised, Hotaru goes back to the forest the next day. Surprisingly, Jin is also waiting for her. He is also curious about her, because it is his first time interacting with a human. Jin then takes her inside the forest, and Hotaru is excited to check out the never-before-seen places. Hotaru has brought some popsicles with her, and they start to walk around eating it. Suddenly, one black figure spirit appears, and asks Jin if he can eat this human child. Jin says no, because she is his friend. That spirit warns Hotaru to not touch Jin, and threatens her by saying he will eat her if she does. Jin then sneezes, and that spirit gets scared, so it shapeshifts into a fox and runs away. It turns out that the black figure spirit is only a bark and no bite. Instead of being scared, Hotaru is really happy, and excited that she saw her first ever spirit. Hearing this, Jin reminds her that he is also a spirit, and they start walking around again. Now each day, Hotaru goes to the forest, and she runs and plays around the mountain with Jin. One day, while Hotaru was busy picking up some flowers, Jin fell asleep in the ground. Out of curiosity, Hotaru takes off the mask to see Jin's face, and he pretty much looks like a normal human being, so she asks Jin why he wears that mask. Jin replies, if he doesn't wear that mask, he looks just like an ordinary human, so to look different from others, he wears a mask. Now on the way back home, Hotaru tells Jin that she will be unable to visit him from tomorrow, because she was here in her uncle's village for summer vacation only, and now that the vacation is over, she will have to go back to her home in the city. Jin then asks Hotaru if she can come back again next year, and she happily says yes. In the next summer, Hotaru visits Jin again. While they are walking around, a tree spirit warns Jin to not be with this human child. Jin tells the tree spirit not to worry, and Hotaru also says that she will never touch Jin. Again after some time, an invisible spirit warns Jin to be careful while being with her. Seems like other spirits really care about Jin and they don't want anything to happen to him. Now it's another summer. Hotaru tries to scare Jin by hanging out from the tree branch. She wanted to see his startled face but couldn't because of the mask. So she asks Jin if he can take off his mask once in a while, when she is around with him. So Jin takes off his mask and suddenly, the tree branch breaks, and Hotaru falls down. Jin tries to catch her, but he stops at the last moment. Fortunately, nothing happens to Hotaru, but it was a pretty close call. Realizing what could have happened to Jin, Hotaru tells him to never touch her, no matter what happens, and she cries. This shows, she really likes Jin, and she doesn't want him to disappear because of her. Every summer, Hotaru goes to her uncle's village to meet Jin, and now Hotaru is a 5th grade student. She shows her school uniform to Jin, and she has also grown up a bit by now, which makes her realize that Jin has barely aged. Their ages are now gradually getting closer, so she keeps thinking that one day she will be older than Jin. While thinking about this back in her room, her uncle brings watermelon to eat together. Then her uncle says that summer this time is pretty hot, so the winter will get really cold. Hearing this, Hotaru gives a scarf to Jin, and tells him to wear it in the winter. Surely enough, the winter gets freezing cold, and because of this, every year, Hotaru gets really worried about Jin. She always keeps thinking about him, and now she deeply wishes that she could touch him. A few years passed, and now Hotaru is a high school student. One day she says to Jin that when she graduates, she will move in here and find a job, so that she can always be with him in all 4 seasons. Hearing this, Jin also tells a little bit more about himself. When he was a baby, his parents abandoned him in the forest. The spirits living in the forest found him and tried to take care of him but couldn't do anything because he was a human child. He was destined to die in that forest, but the mountain god himself appeared and cast a spell that allowed him to continue living. Then he says to Hotaru that she can forget about him. He is just like a ghost, and his body maintained by magic is so weak that even a human touch can break the spell and his body will disappear. But Hotaru ignores it and says that she can never forget him, and suggests they should always be together until that day comes. After that, Jin invites Hotaru to a spirits festival which will take place inside the forest at night. She agrees and gets very excited about it. The festival looks just like a human festival, where spirits disguise themselves as humans, just like in a Halloween. Jin says, sometimes even humans mix in this festival unknowingly, which confirms that, Hotaru's uncle's friend Iwa, and her friends really did sneak into the spirits festival. Hotaru then lightly jokes about this being like a date, and Jin confirms that it is indeed a date, which makes Hotaru a bit shy. They walk around the festival and enjoy the view of fireworks together. They also watch spirits doing all sorts of things that humans do on a festival, like a dragon dance, festival games, foods, and many more. At the end of their night, Jin confesses his feelings to Hotaru. He says that just like her, he also waits for the summer to come, so that he can meet her, but for some reason, he can't wait for summer to come around anymore. Then he places his mask on Hotaru's face, and kisses her. He then lets Hotaru keep his mask, and by judging Jin's words and action, Hotaru thinks that this might be their last meeting. As they continue walking, 2 kids come running behind them, and one boy stumbles. Jin grabs him by his arm, and Hotaru tells that kid to be careful and lets them go. When Hotaru looks back at Jin, she sees his hand is disappearing. Turns out the kid that Jin grabbed is actually a human. Jin then happily says, "Now I can finally touch you," and spreads his arm. Hotaru quickly runs towards him and hugs him, and just like that, Jin disappears. Hotaru starts to cry, and she hears Jin saying "I love you." She also says that she loves him, and keeps crying. After some time, spirits of the forest appear, and thank Hotaru for giving Jin what he had always wanted. They say that Jin always wanted to touch a human, and because of her, he finally got to hug someone whom he really loved. Now after a few years, Hotaru eventually gets over the pain of losing Jin, and always remembers her happy memories with him. Every summer, Hotaru visits her uncle's house, and the memories of Jin will always be in her heart forever. So guys, this was a short anime movie, Into the Forest of Fireflies Light. The manga was written by Yuki Midorikawa and was published in 2002. The anime movie was released in 2011, and it has a runtime of only 44 minutes. In the beginning, both Hotaru and Jin were curious of each other, since Hotaru had never seen a spirit before, and Jin had never met a human until that moment. Over a period of time, they both got closer, and started to develop feelings for each other. But Jin knew he was holding back Hotaru's life, when she said she wants to live in that village to be with him. So there is a theory that Jin was prepared to let go of Hotaru from his life. That's why he invited her to a spirits festival to spend some more time with her, confessed his feelings by kissing her, and gave his mask as a memory to remember him. But unfortunately, he touched a human child, and since he was going to disappear anyway, he got a chance to hug Hotaru, which he had always wanted to do. So what do you guys think about it? Comment your thoughts down below and remember to subscribe to the channel for more movie breaks.